Good night. Sorry about that tiny delay here. So like everything else, when we start, I like to let you know what is happening in terms of our presentation structure for tonight, in terms of respect and sensitivity, any questions and clarifications. So I'll guide you through the presentation as normal. We have allocated enough time for the end for discussions and questions. However, feel free to raise your hand. Shakwana, you might have to help me out here because I'm not sure for some reason I can see my Zoom part of the presentation and I don't want to delay it any further. So if somebody does raise their hand or thing, in between slides, you can let me know so I can answer their questions. I'm okay to unmute the mic.
Yes, I would. If they raise their hand, I will unmute. If they post it in the chat, I will let you know as well.
You just give me a heads up before, okay?
Yes, please.
Okay, so understanding finances, and I say this every time and you might think it's redundant, but understanding financing can be challenging. And we all come from diverse backgrounds with varying degrees of familiarity. So I just want us to be supportive and respectful towards each other's experiences and questions. If something isn't clear and you need further explanation, just raise your hand. I'll do my best to answer immediately. If it requires a more detailed response, I will note it down and get back to you later, okay? Privacy. Privacy is important. So should you want to share any personal or sensitive information, I encourage you to do so via private message. Okay, this is just to help maintain your confidentiality. Let's use this opportunity to learn, to support each other, to empower each other. Every question and insight shares an enrich and a collective understanding. At the end of today's presentation, I will give you some details as how to reach me for additional resources and further assistance. So thank you for your attention, and let's have a very productive and focused session, okay? So, hello again, and a warm welcome to all the sisterhood joining from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, St. Kitts and Nevis, and of course, St. Lucia. It has truly been my pleasure to have each and every one of you with us for this comprehensive financial literacy program. Over the past few sessions, we've looked at essential topics such as personal finance, access to credit, equipping you with the knowledge and the tools necessary to manage your financing. And throughout this program, we have explored the foundations of personal finance, emphasizing on the importance of budgeting, savings, and making informed financial decisions. Understanding how to access credit has been a vital component as it allows us to leverage financial resources for personal and business growth. Your active participation during these sessions have been inspiring. And I'd like to commend you for your commitment to enhancing your financial knowledge. So for today, we will focus on setting up a business. I'll touch a little bit on understanding business taxes because for this session, I wanted to change it up a little bit. Normally on the last session, we look at understanding business taxes and regulations. And for the last couple of times I've done this, I found that this session was a little bit boring and maybe by the time we got to it, you couldn't relate to it. So I'm going to put this in the session today. And the last session, what we're going to use it to do is, okay, I have a business now, what now? How do I keep this business going? How do I improve the business to allow it to grow? So on next session, we're going to focus on having a business and how do you keep a functioning business whilst helping you gain more financial literacy and building on your wealth portfolio. So I hope that's okay with you all, but we normally teach you all these things and then you have a business, then what happens? And a lot of you already have businesses. So I want to use this last session to be able to teach you some insights in when you do have the business now, when you have set it up, you've learned what happens then? what can you do? What do you need to do to maintain a business? Statistics show that almost, I think, 80% of new businesses fail within the first 2 years, and another out of the balance, another 80 or something. So very few businesses survive longevity. We're going to look at why that is, and I'm going to try and give you the tools that if you're thinking about starting a business, or if you already have a business, that you can have continued growth, prosperity, longevity, and possibly leave a legacy behind for those you care about, right? So many of you have dreams of entrepreneurship, and today's session will provide you with valuable insights into the steps involved in starting your own business. We will cover important aspects such as identifying business opportunities, exploring potential business ideas that align with your skills, your interests, and most importantly, the needs of the market. Creating a business plan, understanding the components of a solid business plan, which serves as a roadmap for your entire entrepreneurial journey. We'll look at a little bit about the legal structures and registration of businesses, learning about various structures for businesses and the necessary steps for registering your business in your respective countries. So we'll touch a little bit on understanding business taxes and some of the regulations around having a business. In addition to setting up a business, it's crucial to understand the landscape of taxes and regulations. So I'll bring in a little bit of it this week, and on Thursday, I will elaborate a little bit more on it, okay? One of the things, as those of you who've spoken to me and know I am really big on, is financial record keeping. And I believe in financial literacy. Without financial record keeping, there is very little room for you to know where you're at and how you can do better. So best practices for maintaining accurate financial records, which are essential for tax reporting and overall business management. So we'll have a look at that. I am genuinely excited to guide you through these topics today. The knowledge you will gain, hopefully it will empower you not only to pursue your entrepreneurial aspirations, but also to navigate the complexities of running a business successfully. Remember, entrepreneurship is not just about making money. It's about creating value, contributing to your community, and achieving personal fulfillment. So as we embark on this third session, I encourage you to ask questions, share your thoughts, and engage in discussions. Together, we can create a supportive learning environment and foster growth along with your collaboration. So let's make the most of this opportunity and take the next steps towards building a successful business that can thrive in our communities. I'm just going to mute a minute just to drink a little bit of water. Sorry about that. My throat is a bit dry. Just give me a minute, please. Thank you. Okay, sorry about that. So, today's objectives. Thank you telling me to switch account. Today's objectives, the presentation is going to focus on empowering you all with essential knowledge. So we spoke a little bit about what we're going to do in terms of business plan, the legal requirements, understanding, choosing a business structure. Also, I want to talk to you all about paying yourselves today, keeping financial records, lending and borrowing, sustainable business practices, right? I want you to equip yourself with the knowledge to make informed financial decisions that ensure the long-term stability of your business, which is what we're going to look at next week. How are you going to keep long-term stability, right? Look at identifying potential risk and learn strategies to mitigate them, right? And in achieving those goals, hopefully will be equipped not only to start your business, but also to manage your finances effectively and sustain the growth that you need to be able to have longevity in your business, right? So, why start a business? In rural settings where most of us come from, I mean, sometimes agriculture is um, looked upon like everything is rural. So perhaps using the word rural is not completely appropriate because particularly with Helen's daughters, a lot of women come from urban settings and have backyard gardens and contributing just as equally to food security. So I will withdraw my choice of words. So job opportunities tend to be scarce and economic conditions are often challenges. So many women turn to entrepreneurship as a direct route to financial stability. The decision to start a business is frequently driven by the need to generate income, support families, and improve their living standards. Yeah, we all want to be an entrepreneur, but most times it's the idea starts out as a need to be able to generate a second income, a third income in some cases, right? So this financial motivation, although pragmatic, is a powerful catalyst for women to step into the realms of business ownership. Starting a business primarily for monetary gain is a common and completely legitimate motivator. However, as these businesses begin to establish themselves, the initial focus on money ideally broadens into a more holistic view of entrepreneurship. This evolution in mindset is critical for long-term success and involves several key transitions. So, as I mentioned earlier in the introduction, it's all well and good you want to start a business. You do start it, and then what happens? So, as women entrepreneurs, we have to move beyond the startup phase. The focus often shifts towards sustainability. This means developing a business model that not only generates profit, but also stands the test of time. And we're going to look at that next week. No, sorry, why I keep saying next week? On Thursday. I don't know why I think I have another week with you. Creating a viable business involves strategic planning, understanding the market, and continuously adapting to changes. Adopting good practices. With the growth of your business, there is also a need to adopt industry best practices. This could include anything from improving financial literacy, which everyone who's here today has taken that step, and management skills to embracing ethical business practices and sustainable methods of production. Good practices ensure that the business not only survives, but thrives in a competitive market. So good business practices would be things like, okay, we have this big drive around eliminating plastics. How can you sell your business while doing something that would benefit the environment and your communities? So that's an example of a good business practice, right? While still remaining competitive in the market of the people who still continue to use plastic, sorry. So community impact and empowerment. Often women see their success in their ventures, their goals expand to encompass the larger community. That might include empowering local workers using local resources or contributing to community projects. Through your entrepreneurial activities, you can play a significant role in local development and empowerment. So again, if you live in a community where you make a finished product, I'm going to use something like perhaps baskets. And sometimes you can use those tiny sticks. But you know a gentleman in your community who can maybe go out and source these sticks for you to use to be able to enforce your own creative juices. The way you help your community is by engaging other people to be able to provide you with the raw materials to be able to do what you have to do. And that's what I speak about when I say entrepreneurship can also impact your community, even if it's your business idea, you're the one behind the business, okay? Starting a business could be for personal development and empowerment, right? So running a business can significantly alter a woman's self-worth, a self-perception, and societal role, particularly in more rural communities. This empowerment is both personal and professional, and it enhances your confidence, your skills, and also your visibility in the community. So while the initial impetus for women to start businesses may almost always be money, I say it's always money because I always start a business to make money, not to lose. The journey does not stop here. As you navigate through the complexities of running a business, the motivations and aspirations evolve. This transition from simply making money to creating a sustainable, impactful, and respected business is not just beneficial, but necessary for lasting success and community development. And note well how I keep putting community. The reason being, too often we treat a business as if um, we're doing the people who buying from us a favor. If we look at a business as a community, you find you will benefit more. If people in the community can benefit from your business, then inevitably your business will grow and develop more because the very same people you depend on to be able to be the consumers of your business, they can also be the producers in assisting you, thereby creating a chain that is going to be have long-term effects. That's going to have a continuity for your business because of how many lives you touch and impact whilst providing a service or a good, right? So the transition from simply making money to creating sustainable, impactful, and respected business is not just beneficial, but necessary, right? So owning a business can provide you with a sense of achievement and self-worth. As business owners, you gain significant control over decisions that affect your personal and professional lives. um, there's a potential as well when you start a business for higher income. You can potentially generate more income than traditional employment. And I use the word traditional here, but I would say um, if you're passionate about your business, you've done the initial assessments in terms of record keeping, and you can see that there is growth. Almost always, as an entrepreneur, you can generate more income than traditional employment. And when I say more income, you have to calculate things like the time you get for yourself. All these things are worth something when you sit down to realize how working for yourself or entrepreneurship can bring not just financial freedom, but in some cases, peace of mind. Entrepreneurs can have direct impact on their financial success and security. It's not dependent on anybody else because you do what you must. Um, Small businesses are the primary source for new jobs in many economies, right? So by starting your business, you can contribute to economic development for the people in your community. Work-life balance. Business ownership can offer more flexible hours and schedules compared to traditional employment, which is particularly beneficial for women managing households and family responsibilities. And sometimes you see a lot of people are entrepreneurs or self-employed and they work hard and they never have time. But more than likely, if that is what is happening, you need to sit down and recognize whether or not that business is profitable. Most times when people work so arduously, it's because they haven't put something in place to allow their business to function for them to be able to have that work-life balance. So sometimes we just workaholics, I know that, but I'm just saying, entrepreneurship, one of the pros of it, it should allow you to have a better work-life balance. Okay? Entrepreneurships provide an opportunity to turn personal passions or hobbies into a business venture, right? Um, and later, hopefully, we can talk about some success stories. Perhaps you can share with me about people you know, or even yourself, right? So I want to encourage you to think about what you're passionate about and consider how you can turn those passions into a profitable business idea, right? So choosing a business idea. Align your passion with the market needs, not an idea that just because you see something selling, you think you might be able to make money too. That is a big thing in the Caribbean. So I don't know if many of you remember when we had CMOS, when CMOS just started in the Caribbean. What happened? When we had it started out and it just boomed, and it was, I mean, I think you could buy CMOS for $25 a pound, and everybody just went into CMOS and saturated the market. So don't choose a business idea based on everybody else is making money. Often that is not a good strategy, because if you're not passionate about it, you don't have any skills or expertise in CMOS or whatever else it is, you may not succeed. So that is not a good idea. So what I would say is identify your passion, reflect on your interests and your skills. What do you love to do? What are you good at? Your passions will drive your commitment and enthusiasms. So you listen to me a lot. I love to talk. Oftentimes it's even used against me, like, oh, you talk too much. But one of the positives I know about talking is that I am able to articulate myself to be able to help you today with financial literacy. So what others might see as something that does not suit you, allow it to work for you so you can benefit financially and otherwise from it. I am a community person at heart. I love giving back. So I always think about ways that I can help my community. And helping doesn't always mean you do free things, but you can encourage, you can participate, you can start small businesses, and perhaps pass on the idea to somebody else in your community. So my thing to you is identify whatever you're interested in or your skills, combine them and see how you can get a business out of that. You always must assess the market needs. What sense it is coming up with an idea to make something like, and I'm not saying you shouldn't, I'm just using that as an idea. Let's say you want to grow organic potatoes. So you want to grow organic potatoes because you think that's a great idea. And yes, that's a great idea. However, we live, I'm going to use St. Lucia as an example. You live in St. Lucia, where most of the soil is already tainted by years and years of pesticides and weedicides in the ground. Secondly, the population demand for organic food is not as great, because when you look at perhaps a developed country like the United States or England, there's a greater population. So once you have to consider that. Secondly, can you produce organic product at a price that's competitive with what's currently available? Most times you can't. It'll cost you more to do it, but will you get paid any more than what's already available on the market? So that's just an example of how you assess the market's needs. If you have 20 people who need organic food or who would willing to pay you your price, is it worth it? So again, it might be, but I just want to let you know that you should consider it, okay? Doing a feasibility check is also important. Evaluate the practicality of your business idea. Can you realistically turn your passion into a sustainable business? Consider resources, time, and the initial investment required. Are you going to be wasting your money essentially, right? So we all have bright ideas. We've all had bright ideas, and sometimes they just don't shine. We now have to sit back and be honest with ourselves, look at those things, align your passion with the needs of the market. Just remember that part. You might be passionate about something, but where's your market? Do they really need it? And will they pay you for it? So, sorry, I moved on. So understanding your audience and competition is important. So you go to Helen's daughter's farmer's market and there's already 3 or 4 people selling food items, cooked food items. You decide, oh, they look like they have a lot of people, so you want to sell food as well too. But then you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, you travel, you set this up. Yes, you sell all your food. But just imagine when you sit down and you do the numbers, the hours you put into it, you decide to pay yourself. It wasn't worth it. So again, you have to know your audience and always evaluate the competition. Identify who your potential customers are, what their preferences, needs, and purchasing behaviors are. Understand your audience is crucial for tailoring your offerings effectively. Research other businesses in your field. What are their strengths and their weaknesses? So I remember doing a program, I think at the time it was with UNDP, and one of the participants was talking about having uh, I believe it was like a tour or something like that. And somebody else came and do a tour next to them. And one of the things I asked them to see, rather than looking at the person as doing a tour after you and doing better from better than you, what is it that that person is offering that you are not offering? How can you improve your service? So, for instance, if that person is offering a tour and you now are still living in the ages, is it something where maybe you can advertise online on social media, ask the bank to allow people to pay you directly online? Would that bring more customers in? So look at the patterns and the behaviors of your potential market. The people you want to be able to buy stuff from you, are they the ones, the millennials, who constantly use their debit and credit cards? If they are the ones, how do you put things in place that there will be no option but to say, listen, I'm going there because they facilitate me to use a debit and credit card? And I will tell you and talk to you next week about how little things like that can make such differences in your revenue and your earning power when you have a business. Okay? So understanding your audience, that is very important for tailoring how your business runs effectively, right? We spoke about researching other businesses. How can you differentiate your business from theirs? This will help you position your business strategically. Looking at data. And I'm not a big one on surveys and interviews, but again, I like to talk. So I tend to speak to people a lot. And when I'm speaking, I'm always gathering information that I can perhaps somehow use. So have conversation, discussions, network with people, figure out what is happening, what the needs are. Online resources and local business directories can provide valuable insight into market trends and competitor strategies. Those of you all who have businesses and you have a physical location, doing a simple thing like putting your business on Google for free, it's completely free, can make a huge difference. So for instance, now I know if I'm up north and I'm looking for, let's say, or in Viewfort, I'm looking for a dentist. I don't know which dentist I want to go to. I just have a toothache. So I Google dentist in Viewfort. And then you see what comes up. If you strategically position yourself on a lot of these free resources that are available, you will find that will help your business. So again, do the market research. You can also, at any point in time you want to open a business, go online and Google it, nail shop, eye shop, sweet treats, whatever it is that you are into, you will find that there are resources available on the social media platforms and even generalized on Google. Okay, and then you can collect some data, the data that we see. So it doesn't have to be difficult. Business planning. So your goals, your strategies, and projections. Set clear goals. Define short-term and long-term objectives for your business. So for instance, you want to start a business. Most businesses don't turn over a profit immediately. You have to be realistic and decide at which point do you reevaluate the business if you're not making a profit. So you cannot ideally go into a business and expect to make a profit within the first month. In some instances, not even the first year. So this is something you have to plan for. How are you going to mitigate around these circumstances if this doesn't happen? How much of a buffer zone are you going to give yourself? What are the long-term objectives for the business? What do you want to achieve in the first year? What do you want to achieve in 5 years? Clear goals will guide your decision-making process. I started a business, I believe it was 2020 when COVID happened, and I'm still quite passionate about it. But I had made a decision that if after, I think it was 2 years, no, the business was doing really well initially. We had gone on for 2 years, but then I noticed we had a drop after COVID. Um, and I thought, you know what, if I have to be personally back in this business for 6 months, then I'm going to close it down. And when it was 6 months, I made a decision to close it down because that was like throwing good money after bad business. It did not make sense. So you also have to be able to establish and analyze when it's time to change course. Because perpetually throwing money after a business that will not do well, it does not make sense. It will send you into financial ruins. You can move on to the next thing. But the one thing I can tell you is that if for any reason a business does not work out or you need to change course, I would hope that you would learn. I think every business you have or the first business you start should be a learning curve. What did I do well? What could I have done better? And what will I do the next time? So the true entrepreneur spirit does not wither. You come back stronger and you decide that you're going to do this. If you're an entrepreneur, just because one business failed, that doesn't knock you back. You'll go for the second and the third. And most people that are successful at business, that's not the first business they had. So I want you to be encouraged. I want you to understand that you can change your mind about what you want to do. You can change your mind about what you want to sell. It does not have to be stagnant, right? You can change your mind about how you do business. So if, for instance, you have a shop and you provide services, a restaurant, for instance, where you provide services for people to come in and sit and eat. However, you can't get staff to show up for work. Is it possible that you can change your business into a takeout where people order and they collect and go? Would that be more beneficial to you? So you have to be able to analyze and re-strategize, okay? Outline how you plan to achieve your goals, what marketing strategies you will employ. I'm sorry. How will you reach your targeted market? Consider both online and offline methods. Again, you have to prepare a financial plan that includes startup costs, projected income, and expenses. And again, often you think that has to be a big thing. It doesn't. Just figure out what you need to start the business. Always make sure you put contingency, a percentage of it into contingency. And by contingency, I mean there will be unexpected expenses that you did not anticipate. So you need to have a buffer so you don't stall before you even can move 2 steps forward. Okay? So this will help you understand the financial viability of your business and prepare for potential challenges. So this is one of the first things you should look at actually. Can this be a financially viable business? And if it's not, move to the next one. Okay? So by aligning your passion with the market needs and conducting research and developing a solid business plan, you can set the stage for financial business venture. Remember, every successful business starts with a great idea and a well thought out plan. Okay? So, legal requirements to start a business. So, in the 3 islands that we are working with, again, let's just look at the legality of the types of business you can start. So there's a sole proprietorship, a partnership, a corporation. We're going to look at these 3 because these are the most common ones, okay? So a sole proprietorship in its simplest form, it just means it's operated and owned by one person. There are minimal registration requirements, but the owner bears all the liability. So this is the most common one. Most of you who are here today who have businesses, I am almost certain that you have what you call a sole proprietorship. So perhaps you've gone to the registry and registered a business name. However, you and the business are the same. Should you go and acquire a loan for the business, it still means that the liability for the loan is on you. Should you register your business to pay NIC or taxes, all of that still falls on you. A partnership is 2 or more people who co-own a business. It requires a partnership agreement detailing the roles and responsibility. Liabilities and profits are shared. Now, a partnership may seem like a good thing I don't really recommend it because the nature of people is that if things go sour, it can become really, really bad. So I say to the people who are two or more than one who want to form a business uh, to incorporate the business. And that's a legal entity that's separate from the owners. And the reason why I will explain the difference between why I don't normally recommend partnerships. Again, if you trust somebody 2000%, you think they'll never turn on thing on you, you think that they'll equally put in as much as you do in the business, then maybe it's a great idea. But what you find with partnership is that while the liabilities and the profits are normally shared, almost certainly one person will put in more than the other does. And there is always, how should I put it? Um, Many of the instances of partnerships I've seen, particularly in the Caribbean, it tends to break off quite quickly over disagreements, over profit sharing, even over losses. If the business is taking a loss, one person is blaming the other. So I would say if there are two or more people owning a business, to look at possibly forming a corporation. A corporation is separate from its owners. It offers limited liability protection, which means that if the company were to go had debt or own, it would be the company's responsibility, except if in a lot of cases now the banks get you to sign personal guarantees for the company. So again, when we spoke last week about funding and banking, if you do open a company, be mindful that again, there's not this desperation to get financing. The whole point of having a corporation is to protect you as an individual. So by you going and give a personal guarantee to a business, it's almost like you are the sole proprietorship. Should anything happen, it still comes back on you. So a corporation is a bit more costly to form. It has a bit more regulations and rules you have to follow, some compliance stuff. But again, it may not be suitable for a smaller business. So there's a time when your business is growing when you may have to consider stepping it up from a sole proprietorship to a corporation. And again, next week, I will go into more detail with that with you. And if there are any questions you need before then, please feel free to email me so I can bring it up. Okay, so a corporation combines the simplicity of a partnership with liability protection of a corporation. Popular choice for small to medium-sized businesses. Okay. Choosing the right one. Consider factors like liability, taxation, investment needs, and administrative burden. So corporations are more heavily administrative burdens because of the compliances you have to keep up with. But I would say to consult a legal or business advisor to help you select the best structure for your business goals and your own personal circumstances. Okay? So depending on the type of business you have, you may require licenses. So for instance, I know some of the Helen's daughters who make punches and while at the moment it's a cottage industry, but most times when you start these things, you have wine, you may be required to get a liquor license. Liquor licenses come with certain, like you have to get a police report, you have to get certain things. I believe you apply for it for a magistrate court. Also, if you sell food, you will require a health permit, I believe, from the Ministry of Health. You have to undergo certain tests to be able to prove that you don't have any communicable diseases. So again, these are things you need to look at when starting a business. If you were to start, for instance, a vending roadside business, do you need a permit to be able to do that? Will the authorities be chasing you every time you start? Could this interrupt your business and cost you rather? So look at these things before you start, right? So check with, for instance, your local small business and development organizations. In most of the Caribbean islands, I think that fall under commerce and industry. So you can call your various ministries and ask them about this information, about what you required by law to be able to move on with that aspect of your business, right? So I just want to emphasize that the premise of a good business is to start right. So if you start figure out the information that you need, figure out the licenses, the proper taxation structure, the proper registrations for national insurance for your employees if you have them. How are you going to pay tax? What's allowed? If you start the business right, you will find that it will help you in growing the business. Okay? Many people don't submit taxes for their businesses, even if they're making a loss. I don't know if many of you know that if you have a business, even though it's a sole proprietorship, and you register it with your various inland revenues, when you file your tax returns, you can include the profits of the business or the loss. So for instance, if you were working a normal job and you had a salary and the government is taxing you, for instance, and let's say you just started a small business, but the first year the small business made the loss, that loss would account and balance of your income, where possibly the inland revenue might refund you more of the taxes than you would have normally had, because you now fall in a different tax bracket and the amount of income you've made is actually reduced by the loss of the business you started. So again, there are benefits. Also, some people, if they are making a lot of money in business, they are reluctant to report what they are making, so they don't pay taxes. I am one who does not agree with that. I believe if you are making more money, you should pay taxes, one. But secondly, I think it's also the honest thing to do. If you continuously don't report your income, how are you ever going to make? Okay, so maybe I'm saying that wrong. If you don't report your income to the inland revenue, so you don't show exactly how much you're making for the purposes of taxes, however, you want funding and finance from a bank, and then now you want to show that you're making that money that you told inland revenue wasn't making. So again, I want you to understand that with technology, these informations will be shared, or they going to pass legislation where it's required. So for instance, one of the things that you may be asked, maybe not now, but I'm sure that's in the framework, when you go to a bank in future or credit union for a loan for businesses, they may ask you, when last did you file your tax return? And it might become a requirement to have a copy of your tax returns to be able to process a loan. So that is why I'm telling you, start honestly from the beginning, and you will see benefits, and you will know truly how your business is doing. Because if you are under-reporting for tax liability and want to over-report for finance, we have a problem. Okay? So consider these things when setting up your business. So I wanted to just run you through the overview of different business taxes in the Caribbean. So you have corporate tax. So understanding how corporate tax are levied on profits earned by a business is important. So I think I'm starting a little bit backwards, but yes. So if you have a corporation and it's considered an individual on its own right, whatever profits you make, I believe in St. Lucia, it's 30% you paid. But what I want you to understand is, like, it's not like you get a salary and you have a tax bracket and you pay taxes on the first $18,000. You only pay taxes on your net income for your business. So if your business made $1 million, but your expenses for the year was $800,000, you're only going to pay taxes on the $200,000 profit that you made. You're not going to be paying taxes on whatever. It's not based on how much money you generate. It's based on the net income. Okay? Value added tax. Different Caribbean islands have different VATs, different sales tax, sometimes more than one in the case of St. Lucia. You need to learn how that works. However, for the purposes of this webinar, I don't think it particularly applies to many of you. I would like it to when I speak to you in a couple of years, but I believe the threshold for VAT, and I may be wrong, so if anybody knows, is probably about $300,000. I'm not sure if I'm right on that, but I can check and let you know next week. So you'd have to be making more than that to register for compulsory VAT. However, in many developed countries where I live, that was not the case. You could still register for VAT, even if you did not meet that threshold. And what it allowed the businesses to do was to be able to offer the products to their consumers for less money. Because if you don't register for VAT, you cannot claim back VAT that you pay on stuff. But if you registered for VAT, I'm going to give you an example. If you have VAT registered and your phone bill for your company, Digicel or Flow will charge you your base rate, and there's going to be VAT. If you are VAT registered, when you enter that bill in your company side, the VAT you paid to Digicel is offset against the VAT you collect on behalf of the government. So let's say, for instance, you were selling baskets, and you now collect your VAT. The VAT is 10%. So the basket is $10. You sell it for $110. $10 is the government's own, and you now paying your phone bill from Cable and Wireless, and the phone bill equivalent for VAT is $15. So now at the end of the month, when you remit the VAT returns, instead of paying the government the $10, you will only pay them $5. I'm not sure if that makes sense to you, but that is how VAT technically supposed to work. However, the people who are not registered for VAT will not benefit from that. And I'm one that has advocated that small businesses are the ones who miss out on what we call VAT input. And I would like to see that they lower the threshold, or they don't have to lower it, but I'd like to see that they allow everybody to register for VAT, because it would benefit and help the small businesses. So for instance, when you import something to sell, the VAT, you would be able to claim it back against what you collect from customers on behalf of the government. And at the end, if you want, we can speak a little bit more about that if you don't understand. So at it's now 6:53, so about 5 past 7, I'll stop a little bit so we can have, you can ask me any questions before we move on, okay? So VAT, so we spoke about VAT. Other taxes. So other taxes include things like payroll, property taxes, customs duties, and these may affect operational costs and pricing strategies. So when you have a business, you sometimes think, oh, I can't sell that too expensive. But have you taken into account the customs duties that you paid on the raw material? Have you taken into account even the 5% if you were paying somebody and they pay in NIC? Remember, as the employer, you have to contribute 5% too. These are all expenses that are borne by you. So taxes affect us differently, businesses differently. Payroll taxes, that's not a liability for you, because as you pay the person, if they meet the threshold, then that's just like you holding money to pass on to the government. It's not your money. Similarly, if you were registered for VAT and you collect VAT, VAT is not your money to keep. It's like you're doing a service to the government by collecting VAT on their behalf and remitting it to them at the end of the month. Okay, or the quarter, whichever one that you have to do. So if you started a small business, I would, whether you're employed or you not employed, I would say to go to SEDU or the company registry and register a business name. That's the first step. After you've done that, you go to Inland Revenue and you fill out a form and you inform them that you have a business, so that when you file your tax returns now, you can prepare a simple financial statement and include it in your tax returns to be able to get the most out of the tax benefits that you can. Okay, if you employ people, I would encourage you to follow the law and pay the national insurance or whatever other associated things to do with the employees that you have. Okay. Property taxes, I think it only applies if you own the building. If you're renting, then you don't have to pay property taxes. So these are the things you have to take into account when you start in a business. Will I have to pay property taxes? How much NIC will my company be liable for? National insurance. Again, a lot of the inland revenues around the Caribbean, when you have a corporation, for instance, there are stiff penalties if you don't pay. For instance, when you file for the first couple of years, they now want you to pay in installments before you even file the tax returns. So you can write and ask for exemptions so you don't have to pay that penalty or fill that form out every month. So again, there are ways and means of asking for things and then reducing your liability for not meeting the compliance for particular things when it comes to business taxes. So again, when we speak about business taxes, that is, I cannot stress enough how important it is to keep accurate records, bookkeeping, right? The importance of maintaining accurate financial records cannot be overstated. You will cover how regular and precise accounting helps in managing finances. That ensures that you can comply with the tax regulations and making informed business decisions. Okay, so they have so many free accounting software tools. I believe no, it's not Fresher, for instance, for people who do appointments for stuff. Next week I will share with you some of those that are available for free. There's QuickBooks, it's not free, but it's good. I think there's one called Zoha. I'm not really familiar with the newer ones on the market, but you can just Google free accounting software. It might be that your business is small enough just to be able to use one of them to be able to help you manage. But I cannot stress enough how important business record keeping is. It's even more important than your personal finances. Okay? Because how are you going to know if you're doing well enough to continue, if you're doing well enough to stop, and what you can do to improve or to grow? Okay? So I spoke a little bit about custom tariffs and charges. Again, if you are selling products and you are importing raw materials to be able to get your product to the final stage, you have to understand what the custom tariff and charges are. I would also say a lot of people, I'm in St. Vincent and in St. Kitts, I'm not sure what it's called, but in St. Lucia we have West Tech. So you have these companies now with us buying so much online that you send it to a US address and they ship it directly to you. I'm certain we all have them in the car in the Free Islands. So you now will order something, you'll send it there, but you haven't thought about how much customs duties you will pay. Now, sometimes the customs duties, a lot of the times, I think if the thing is under a certain amount, it just goes through. And the one time when it comes and it's too much, we all get upset. Oh my God, how could customs charge me so much duty? I just want you to remember that customs cannot charge you more duties than you have to pay. But what you can do is the customs tariff is a document that is within the OECS, I believe, and it's online and it's free. Most of these companies have a calculator where you can put in, including on the customs tariff websites, you can put in the cost of the item, choose the category for the item, and it will give you an estimate as to how much custom tariffs and charges you have to pay. If you got in the habit of doing that, that would give you a better understanding of how to price your products. Because it's one thing selling your products too expensive, or it's one thing selling it too low, and then you're not making a profit or even recouping the cost of the product. So all these things are important in being able to create a good business structure, plan, and to strategize. Okay? So think about strategies to minimize your costs. That includes sourcing. Would it be in your interest to order this product in bulk directly from China or buying it on Amazon? So for instance, a lot of people now at the markets, particularly Helen Daughters, they use a lot of jazz because you all make a lot of confectionaries. If you are one of those confectionery makers, is it in your interest to figure out a way to buy a lot of bottles and maybe possibly resell it to your colleagues? Can you figure out a way to recycle those bottles and use them again to be able to keep your costs down or to make pricing adjustments when and if needs be? So again, these are things I would like you to think about in understanding how taxes work, how customs duties work, and minimize them for yourself and possibly while still helping, okay? So I will give you now an opportunity to ask some questions.
Okay, no problem. There is one question in the chat. Would you agree that it's more beneficial to incorporate a local company instead of a sole proprietor if the business intend to expand out and to be in a better position to apply for grants?
Sorry, would you agree if to incorporate a company? Say that again. Let's go again. I'm not sure what's happened to my thing now. Am I still on screen or not?
I am seeing a screen say yes.
Okay.
Would
So
you
would
agree
you?
that you want me to continue?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Would you agree that it's more beneficial to incorporate a local company instead of a sole proprietor if the business intend to extend and to be in a better position to apply for grants? So is it best to incorporate a local company instead of doing it solely on your own? And if the business intend to expand and to be in a better position to apply for grants?
Okay. So first of all, you'd have to determine what type of business you want to open. If you are a for-profit business, you interested in profit, grant funding should not be your primary source or expectation. If you are opening a social enterprise or non-profit, then you look at grants. So with the advent of a lot of grants and the youth economy and all these things, a lot of people, I almost feel like there is a dependency on grants. And I'm not saying that to you personally who's asked the question. So again, I would want you to think about what type of business do you want to open? Um, Entrepreneurs normally get grants for startups, but it's not something that will continue because hopefully you would have made your business into such a success that you're not going to that you're not going to need any grants. However, if you want to open a not-for-profit company to be able to be more accredited and more, how shall I put it, um, looked at more favorably, registering it as a corporation for your nonprofit is better. But in able to do that, you'd have to apply to the Attorney General. There's so many compliance things you have to go through because people tend to open nonprofits and use it for money laundering. So they would have to make sure that you meet the certain criteria. If your aspirations for business as a proprietor is to grow and grow and become a huge company like Massey eventually, or maybe not even on that scale. And if you are somebody who believes in structures and you want eventually for that company to make money whilst you sleep and get people to work for you, then yes, a corporation is a good idea. As it pertains to grant funding, I think non-profits, yes, but small businesses and sole proprietorship, you can access grant funding for startups, even as a sole proprietor. So I don't think that disqualifies you for that. Yeah. Any other question?
Yes, the next question is, I noted that is coming from Kathy. I noticed that in my community that shop does not pay VAT sells more expensive than those who pay VAT to the government. So I'm
Yes, so
assuming
that was what I was explaining. And I have a problem with that. I think everybody, Pat, if you just don't mind telling me which island you're from. But yes, because the small businesses would have to pass on the VAT for the cost of the products they buy, whereas the large businesses can claim the VAT for things they buy back from the government. And I think that it could benefit small to medium businesses more than the big businesses if they allow everybody to register for VAT. And I think the government would benefit because they would make more money as well, because they would have more people collecting VAT on their behalf. But they look at it as allowing the small businesses to claim back VAT on things they buy or import. So it's almost like they put a stopgap. But yes, Patsy, generally, if you are not VAT registered, your cost of the thing to the consumer would be more because as a business person, I would not want to bear that cost. I would pass it on to the consumers.
Okay, thank you. And just to make it known that she did say that she's from St. Lucia.
Okay, yes.
Okay.
So just make sure once the business does not make the threshold in St. Vincent, you are not qualified to collect VAT. And that's the thing in St. Lucia too, because I applied for VAT for business I was starting. And because I did not have projections to meet the threshold, they would not allow me to apply. And I think that's wrong. I think that they should have a compulsory point where you apply for VAT, but I think everybody should be allowed to apply for VAT registered if they have a business. Okay? So that's my personal perspective on that. Anybody else?
Thank you. So Joycelyn Eugene raised her hand, so I gave her permission to speak so she could go ahead and ask a question.
No problem. Go ahead, Joycelyn.
Yes, good evening. The question is around VAT. Okay, so St. Lucia, we have a situation where we have been promised a VAT holiday. And I'm trying to understand it because I just generally hear people talking about VAT holiday, going and shopping and buying and this and that because they've taken off VAT. Is that the approach? How does that VAT holiday now benefit or factor into the businesses that we may have?
So first of all, Joycelyn, I heard that myself too, and I think that is completely unrealistic. So imagine yourself being a business owner, and you now have instituted computer systems and trained your staff to be able to collect VAT on behalf of the government, because VAT really is something you collect on behalf of the government. So when you sell a product for $10 and it's now retail for $110, $10 goes to the government. I'm just using that as an analogy, not a complete figure. So basically, you pay me $110 and the government doesn't pay me, but I now have to collect that VAT and remit it to the government every month. So imagine I have all my structures and all my stuff in place to collect VAT. And when I enter any product in the system, it automatically calculates the VAT for you. Do you think it's realistic that anybody can suspend their whole operations to allow the government not to collect VAT for one day? I don't think that's possible.
But I don't
I
think
don't
we
see how it's going to work.
understand it.
And not only that, exactly, because not only that too, as a business owner, which I am, I can decide to shut my business for that day. Do you understand? Who's going to stop me from doing that? You understand? So
Yeah.
again, I don't know in practicality what they've done and how they're going to accomplish that. And the other thing about it is you also have some dishonest and unscrupulous business places who will make you think that you're not paying VAT. And how is it really going to benefit you, except perhaps if you're going to buy a pickup and you walk into one of the car dealerships and you knew the price before and you say, today I'm not paying the VAT. To me, these are the only things that's going to benefit you on. How is you not paying VAT for one day on 2 pounds of sugar? So again, I don't know the practicalities of how it's going to work, but as a business owner, I have not been included in any consultation as to how that will work, and I don't know. So I'm interested to see. I mean, I would probably take advantage of it for a few things if I knew that it was beneficial to me, but I don't know. Any other questions?
No, please. Thank you.
Okay. I see there's a poll there saying, how would you rate this session? And only 5 people rating. I don't mind if you all rate 0, just rate. Be honest so I know how to improve. So come on, use the poll for the minute as we're on a break, and let them know honestly what you think about the session and about the facilitator and any other thing you want to do. But be honest, okay? Just be honest. Okay, so anybody else want to ask a question? And no more
questions in the box or the Q&A box itself or
no
in the
problem.
chat.
Okay, so we'll move on so we can finish, and if you all want, we can get back at the end of it, okay? Just hold on a minute. Okay. I don't know why, but I am having some difficulty this evening. So window, let's go back to this. And let's go back to full slide. Are you back to seeing my full slide?
Confirming that I can see the slide navigating business regulations.
Yeah, no problem. So again, next week I'll talk Thursday. I keep saying next week, my apologies. I will talk a little bit more about that. But today I just wanted to bring up one thing, and that was national health insurance. If you have a business, that's an important part that you have to comply with. Also look at employment laws. If you employ people, people tend to be quick to take you to what you call the labor department. So make sure that you have fair employment practices so you can keep your employees as well, because really, when you have businesses as they grow, one of your greatest resources will be your employees. So figure out how you can navigate certain business regulations to be able to benefit your employees whilst also benefiting your company. Okay? So that's something that I wanted to talk to you all about in terms of business. We spoke about that in terms of planning. But how many of you have businesses and you create a budget? You understand about managing cash flow. You understand the importance of separating your personal and business financing. Again, we spoke a little bit earlier about pricing strategies, looking at things like how VAT may affect your resale price, looking at customs duties and charges, and your ability to be able to check the customs tariffs before you import something. Now, whilst it may evade customs once or twice, there is a time when it'll come and you will have to pay the exact amount of custom charges. So why not incorporate that in your price from day one? And if you don't pay it, then that's fair enough. But if you don't incorporate it and then all of a sudden a customs officer realizes you've been ordering that and it's for resale and they decide to put it, and then your price go extremely high and you're not able to sell your product. So when I speak about pricing strategies, that's what I speak about. And then we're going to look at tools and softwares that can help you. So budgeting. Budgeting is the practice of planning your expenses and revenues over a specific period. So you don't do a budget for infinity. You do a budget for a period of time. Do a budget for a month. Do a budget for 6 months, right? It provides a forecast of what you can expect to spend, to earn, and it helps you to manage your resources more efficiently. So to create a budget, you list all the potential income sources, including sales and any external funding. So in that case, whatever you sold, or if you were going to get a grant, like you spoke about earlier, or a loan, you would include that in your budgets. But equally, if you did get a loan, you'd have to include the monthly payments back for the loan in the budget as well. Then you do the detail of all expenses, such as your raw materials, labor, transportation, and any overhead costs. The goal is to ensure that your income exceeds or meets the expenses to avoid financial shortfalls. And I know the budget said it should meet the expenses, but I always prefer to say that it exceeds. That's the goal. It should always be to exceed the expenses, right? What is cash flow management? This involves tracking the amount of money coming in and out of your business. Effective cash flow management ensures that you have enough cash on hand to cover your obligations, such as paying suppliers and employees. Now, that is something that is heavily mistaken with profit. Cash flow and profit is two different things. So I once had a client who had a bar and they sell a lot of alcoholic products. And let me tell you, the money keeps coming, it keeps coming. But after doing a consultation with them to look at their finances for some loan they wanted to take for expansion, we realized that they were not making a profit at all. And the owner was quite surprised that he had not been making a profit, because every night he has all this money coming in. But again, his thing is that the money is coming in, but then the expenses, he's never put the revenue he generated and had an accurate account of what his expenses were. So it seemed like he was making money because there was always cash flowing, but actually he was operating at a loss. So I want you to know that effective cash flow management ensures that you have enough money to pay for all those things, but that does not necessarily mean that you're making a profit. So how are you going to mitigate those things? You're going to use accounting software or spreadsheets to record all your cash inflows and outflows. You have to regularly review those records to anticipate any potential cash shortages and to plan accordingly. We spoke about that in personal finance, but I think that is even more important in business. That is even more important in business, okay? So, income separating your personal and your business income. Why separate it? Keeping your personal and business finances separate, it simplifies accounting. It improves financial management and helps to assess the performance of a business. It also reduces personal liability from business risk, right? How to separate it? You should always, always, always open a separate bank account the moment you think you have a business. Always open a separate bank account and put the money or the income from the business there and remove your expenses from the business from there. You should not get into the habit of muddling. If you have a business and you need, let's say let's go back to the situation of a bar. You have a bar and the bar is not at your home. You have to rent somewhere for the bar. However, when you make money for the month, you just take money out to pay your light bill at your home, your water bill, or to pay your own rent for where you live. That's not good practice. You have to separate your business. This helps in keeping to track the business income and expenses without getting mixed up with your personal finances. Okay? So that is important. You have to maintain distinct budgets we spoke about the personal ones and then the business. This clarity will aid you in making informed decisions, both personally and professionally. So if you were able to separate these things, when now you have to put your personal money into the business, you will see whether or not you can afford to do it. Because sometimes you do it, but you are not able to afford it. If from the get-go, you try and keep your receipts and your records organized, when it's the end of the year and you have to file your tax returns or you're trying to prepare financial statements, you have everything in place. Another tip I always tell people, the receipts you receive are normally printed on what you call thermal paper, so they fade. When you get a receipt, take a picture of it. Printing it and photocopying it is costly. Just take a photograph of it on your phone, email it to yourself, keep it there, so at the end of the year, you have all these things where you can put it, okay? So ensure all your receipts are kept separately, right? This practice will not only help you in tax season, but it will also help you in monitoring your financial health of your business. We spoke about regular financial reviews. So schedule a regular check-in with on your financial status. This will help you to identify trends, understand the impact of your decisions, right? You can seek professional advice. Consider consultation from a financial advisor who understands the local economic context and can provide tailored advice to suit your business needs, okay? So by mastering these financial skills, you who are in agro-processing can enhance your business efficiency and stability, leading to increased profitability and growth opportunities. Pricing strategies. Pricing strategies, when we speak of that, we refer to various approaches used to determine the selling price of products and services. These strategies can take into account production costs, market demand, competition, the perceived value to ensure that the prices are set in a way that maximizes profitability while remaining attractive to customers. And just a few things I wanted to speak about. I used to sell at the farmer's market too. So just a tip here, and I'm not saying all of you have to do it. When we sell honey and everybody comes with this big bottle of honey, I think it was $70. But the community where we sold the honey in, a lot of the people didn't want or need a big bottle. They either young people who live alone who just want a little bit of honey. And then we thought about how can we now, one, perhaps make a bit more profit, make the product attractive. And you would be surprised that all we did, we bought a small bottle with a little honey, honey wand, where people could now buy these smaller bottles and take it to work and use honey instead of sugar. And we did this, and the honey was sold out most weeks when we got there. So there are little things you can do to what we call have a perceived value, right? So you increase the value by how you present the thing. Somebody with one bottle, a big bottle of honey, a 1.5 liter, can carry it to work. However, they can buy 2 or 3 small bottles. And you might find that you can have a better profit margin if you do it like that. So these are things I want you to consider when you're doing pricing strategies. Sometimes having more is not always what everybody in the market is looking for. So again, think about your market. if you're selling honey at the market in town, a big bottle of honey would be a good idea because that's what the people are looking for them to travel. But if you're selling honey at the market in Rodney Bay, you have to look at different ways of selling it to be able to meet the needs of the people that are coming to buy it, okay? So an effective pricing strategy helps you cover the costs, including raw materials, labor, overhead, while also generating a profit. Understanding how to price products correctly is crucial for sustainability of your business. And most times that's where we fall short. Sometimes I come to some farmers and it's not that I have money, but when I look at the prices that they sell in it, I know if I had to produce that, I would not sell it for that amount. So sometimes I decide to give them a tip. So really, you have to know your market. What you're going to sell at the farmer's market I think I went to the one in St. Kitts, the market in St. Kitts where you'll have the night market, and the market in St. Lucia. I'm not really familiar with the St. Vincent market. What you would sell there and what you would sell at perhaps a Helen's Daughters market, and you have to think about the people who would come to a night market for Helen's Daughters, is different. So think about your pricing based on your market as well, okay? So competition may come from more local markets and larger suppliers. So having a well thought out pricing strategy allows you to position the products favorably. This can help attract and retain customers even against larger competitors. So cost plus pricing. This approach involves calculating the total cost of producing a product, including materials, labor, and overhead, then adding a predetermined profit margin. So that's one way you can calculate. You have to add the cost of everything down to, and one thing I want to tell you all, if you're the one doing the thing, calculate how much time it takes you to make one particular thing. And think about if you had to pay me, what would you pay me to do that? So if you were paying somebody else $60 a day and they took 2 hours to do something, pro rata the $60 to the cost of the thing. So you can have it. I'm not saying after you've done that, you cannot change the price, but at least you'll have a true idea of what it costs you to produce that particular thing. So that's called cost plus pricing. Okay? Implementation. Keep detailed records of all products costs. For example, if it costs $2 to produce a jar of jam and the desired profit is 50%, the selling price would be set at $3. Okay? So that is how you do cost plus pricing. The other type of pricing you can do is called value-based pricing. That strategy sets prices based on the perceived value of the product to the customer rather than the cost of production. So that goes back to my example for the honey. Understand what your customers value most about your product. Example, whether it's an organic ingredient, local sourcing, or health benefits. For instance, if customers perceive your organic honey as superior to regular honey, you can justify a higher price based on that value. Okay? Then you have competitive pricing. This pricing strategy involves setting prices based on what competitors are charging for similar products. So you conduct a market research, identify the prices of similar agro-processed products in your area. If your product offers unique benefits, you may choose to price it slightly higher. Conversely, if you're entering a saturated market, you might consider a lower introductory price to be able to get the customers on board. The one thing I can tell you about competitive pricing is that sometimes if you choose that route, you may end up losing. Okay? You may end up losing. So be conscious of that. Okay? So I would recommend the first two as the best way to think your prices. 725. So we spoke about access to funds for personal use and also for businesses. So again, loans, right? Microfinancing, loans from credit union. And again, you can get loans to buy big things like purchasing equipment, expanding production of facilities, or even enhancing distribution networks, right? So consider when applying for a loan, it's crucial to understand the terms of the loan like we spoke about, including the interest rates, the repayment schedules, and any collateral requirements. Do not give more than what you are asking to borrow for is worth. And you may need to give a little bit more, but if it's considerably loan, if you have a piece of land that is valued at $100,000 and you only need $10,000, do not give the bank to hold that, right? Do not give the bank to hold your land for $10,000. Consider these things before you decide to give collateral, right? Prepare a business plan. Remember, we spoke about a business plan does not have to be extensive. It can be a simple thing with your ideas to increase your chances of approval and to demonstrate how the loan will be utilized to grow your business, okay? So at this point, it's not just about how you'll repay the loan. In personal lending, they're concerned about how you pay the loan. But in business lending, it is better if you can show not just how you'll pay the loan, but how your business will grow. Okay? So grants again, several governments and non-governmental organizations may offer grants specifically aimed at supporting ventures of agriculture or women-led ventures. These grants are often not required repayment, making them an attractive option for business expansion. However, I have seen an increase in grant application and people not doing what they're supposed to do with the grants or what they've asked for. One, that's dishonesty. And two, you are probably cheating somebody who needs that money to help their business out of it. So I would say, yes, we all get excited by grants, but try your best and there will be deviations. You may have unexpected things and that's the money available at the time. But hold yourself accountable if you get a grant and consider it money you would not have had. Okay? And try your best to utilize it for the purpose for which you had acquired it, right? So I know Helen's Daughters does do some things on grant writing and proposals. So look out for these things that can assist you with how to write grant proposals. And just remember when you do that too, one of the things I find that help in reviewing some of these things is placing an emphasis on job creation and how the grant that you're applying for to start your business will benefit not just you, but the community at large, right? And innovation is also something they're looking at. What is different about your project that we should fund it? That is not just going to benefit you, but it's going to create some kind of innovation for the future, okay? So look at that. So I think we spoke the last time about some special programs for women entrepreneurs in the Caribbean, programs like We Export. You can Google them. My last session with you, I already prepared all the these things for me to share with you, and I will send them, I think, to Helen's Daughters to distribute before our last session on Thursday. And many islands have initiatives aimed at empowering women. For instance, Helen's Daughters, that's one of the things that they do, right? Providing training, financial assistance, support networks specifically designed for you. So I encourage you to take advantage of that, as that will help you. We spoke about networking and mentorship opportunities. Networking doesn't necessarily have to mean, because we all speak about networking, but most of us are mothers, we have jobs. How do you network, right? So when you go to the farmer's market, this is a good way to network. If you're not able to come out, form WhatsApp groups with some rules or some guidelines, and then try and see how you can network. And most of all, I think supporting each other. If you have a group of you and you are doing different things, try to buy from each other before you buy out there. And you will find that will help in growing your businesses as well, okay? Mentorships programs, we spoke about that. Mentors can provide guidance. I'm not sure how much mentorships programs they're having in the Caribbean. I'm looking at that for next year. And maybe I personally will start out my own, where I could probably have 2 people mentoring for a period of time and to see how they can grow and develop their business. So when I decide to do that, I will definitely share the information with those of you who have done the program with me, and if there's anything I can help with, right? workshops and seminars like today, this webinar. These events are excellent opportunities to learn from people how to be able to set up your businesses, how to be able to keep your businesses going, which is what we'll do on Thursdays, right? On Thursday. So, common challenges you overcome, you face barriers in accessing essential resources like land, technology. These hinder your ability to start or scale your business effectively, right? Insufficient education and training, which is one of the things we're doing here, is to be able to help you with financial literacy in particular. I'm not sure if one of your models for the program was marketing, but I know normally that involves that. Marketing and techniques that can help you grow your confidence and your skill sets, and it can impact on the competitiveness in the market. Traditional gender roles and societal expectations normally restrict women's participation in business activities, and that normally leads to a lack of, your family supporting you or communities. So these are all challenges that we have to overcome. But how do we go about overcoming them, right? We spoke about that again, networks, using technology. So I think another thing, I don't know if many of you all know, but I know the banks now have this peer-to-peer system. I know Republic Bank has it, and all 3 countries has Republic Bank, where you can transfer money to somebody else with Republic Bank. Most of the banks offer this EFT program now, which is free. So somebody can transfer money to you gets to your account in 2 hours. I want you all to consider utilizing those resources to be able to help your businesses, particularly those of you all who target the millennials, target the people who have digital access. Because most times you'll find they want what you have. They cannot always get to you to pay for it. But if you can offer a service where if they deposit the money to your account, you will get it delivered, you might find that will increase, and that could create a new business avenue for you in terms of logistics. So I want you to consider how you can incorporate technology in your business, because this is where the world is going. I can sit here and order anything and get it to my home. What kind of business is that you want to do, and how you can incorporate technology? And I'm telling you, this is the way forward. Technology in your business in terms of payments and getting the product to the person is the way that we are moving now, even when it comes to agricultural products, sorry. So use technology wisely. Leveraging technology for marketing and sales, social media platforms, and e-commerce solutions, right? That can help you reach broader markets and increase your customer base. And it can increase your visibility too. Accessing financial literacy resources like what we've just done over the last 3 sessions. Celebrating success stories, that is something, yeah. So sharing success stories among yourselves, highlighting those achievements can motivate other people to continue and persist despite the obstacles that they face. Fostering a mindset of growth, encouraging you to adapt to viewing challenges as opportunities for learning and growth. That can help you to remain resilient. Emphasizing the importance of learning from failures. I spoke about that earlier. Just because one business failed, how is it that you can challenge yourself to start another business with the same passion and enthusiasm you did the first one, and to learn from your mistakes and adapting strategies that can empower you to continue striving for success. Build a supportive community that celebrates and uplift you as a woman. And that can enhance how resilient you become, right? I want to encourage collaboration and sharing resources. You find out something that works for you or something that's available to you. Tell a friend, tell a sister. So share those things so that collectively you can all benefit and the community will benefit, right? So in doing so, you're going to foster a culture of mutual support that can help more than one woman feel empowered to face the challenges head on. So the same way sometimes you feel like you don't have the help, you don't have the resources. When and if it becomes available, share it with somebody else. Let them know what has helped you, and perhaps it can help them too. So by addressing these challenges with effective strategies and fostering resilience, you can enhance your business success and contribute to economic development in your communities, right? Ladies, one of the most challenging things we face as women entrepreneurs is recognizing the value of our work. Often, there's a deep-rooted belief that our labor, especially in family-run businesses or home-based enterprises, doesn't warrant financial compensation. That mindset undervalues not only your hard work, but also impacts the stability and growth of your business. So let's discuss how to shift that perspective and understand the crucial importance of paying ourselves, right? I want you to acknowledge the value of your time and effort. Every hour you invest in your business has value. Compensating yourself is not just about money. It's about respecting and recognizing your effort and contribution. Ask yourselves, how many of you would work for me, for Marcy, for, I don't even know, for anybody for free, the way you work for yourself? So pay yourself. When you pay yourself, it sets a professional tone, right? It sets a precedent. It shows that you are serious about your business and that this is a legitimate enterprise, which can influence how others, including potential investors or partners, perceive your business. Because if you ask me to invest money in your business, and when I ask you to see the books, one of the first things I see is you haven't paid yourself. So if you're not paying yourself, how are you going to be able to pay me back the money that I invested in your business? When you go for a loan, if you cannot show you can pay yourself, how is it likely that the bank will give you a loan? So these are the things I want you to understand, how not paying yourself contributes, may impact negatively on other things that you might need. Paying yourself, it encourages financial discipline. When you pay yourself a salary, it helps in better financial planning and management of business revenues and expenses. It makes you more accountable and can lead to more informed financial decisions. It boosts your self-worth and motivation. Regular compensation boosts morale and validates your hard work. It reinforces the belief that what you are doing is important and you too are worthy of reward. Ultimately, paying yourself can help ensure the sustainability of your business. It allows you to personally survive and thrive while running your business, leading to long-term growth and success. Okay? So, start small. Begin with setting aside a small, manageable portion of your business earnings as your personal salary. And again, as you start a business, you may not be able to pay yourself what you would normally get out there on the market, but whatever it is, pay yourself something. Start small. Educate yourself and others. Understand the basic of financial management. Attend workshops. Use online resources. I shared some with you last week. I don't know how many of you had an opportunity to look at EDX, Coursera, and those things, where you can register for simple courses and do them in 2-3 days. Reinvest in your business. Use part of your earnings to reinvest in your business for growth while ensuring you are compensated. So even if the money you pay yourself, you want to reinvest it in the business, that's fine, but pay yourself. Don't hesitate to consult somebody who can assist you. Sorry. Or advise you financially. You can also rely on experienced business owners for insight and advice. Ladies, remember, your hard work adds immense value to your business and to your community. Paying yourself isn't just a right, it's a strategic business decision that underscores the importance of your contribution and leads to greater business longevity. Again, on Thursday, all we're going to do is business longevity. How are you going to keep that business going? And paying yourself is one of the important things. So we look at pay structures for different types of business, pay structures for sole proprietorships, pay structures for incorporated companies, and even partnerships. But I am not too keen on partnerships, so you may find I may have a bit of a bias and not too much because I don't really want to encourage it because of the issues I know that follows normally with it. Let's start valuing your work and yourselves today for a brighter and more sustainable tomorrow. Okay? Where are we at? So, over the past 3 sessions, we've embarked on a comprehensive journey to deepen our understanding of personal finance and its significant impact on both our personal lives and business operation. Each session has been designed to equip you with the knowledge and tools necessary to navigate the complex financial landscapes and entrepreneurs often face. In the first session, we focus on the fundamentals of personal financing, exploring effective strategies for managing your income, expenses, savings, and investments. Understanding those elements are crucial as they directly influence the financial health of your business. We discussed the importance of creating a budget, setting financial goals, and the need for regular financial reviews to ensure you stay on track. Our second session shed light on the critical area of credit. We discussed how to access credit can serve as a lifeline for your business, but also cautioned against predatory lending practices. These unethical practices can have detrimental effects not only on your business's financial stability, but also on your family's welfare. We emphasize the importance of understanding the terms of a credit agreement, recognizing red flags, and knowing your rights as a borrower. I think we spoke a lot about the importance of due diligence with financial documents. Before you put your signature to something, read it, take it home. Don't let anybody put you under stress before you sign something, right? We stress the necessity of reading all documents thoroughly before signing, asking for copies of any mandatory insurance associated with loans. So for those of you who haven't done that yet and you have loans and there's an insurance component attached to it, it's never too late. You can still ask for a document on what exactly is the insurance coverage for. And ensuring that you obtain a copy of every document that you sign on. The mantra should be, if it's too good to be true, then it probably is. That was highlighted to remind everybody to approach seemingly attractive offers with skepticism. We also touched upon the sensitive topic of financial abuse, discussing how it disproportionately affects women and the importance of recognizing the signs. Empowering women with knowledge and awareness can serve as a first line of defense against such abuse. And today, we circle back in ensuring the value of your work. And as entrepreneurs, it's vital to pay yourselves appropriately. Recognizing the worth of your labor not only affirms your value, but also ensures the sustainability of your business. So as we move into next week, I just want you to remember that starting a business is probably the easiest part. Figuring out what business to start is the easiest part. So on Thursday, I will take time, and please, on Thursday, we'll have a lot more time for discussion, and I want to encourage dialogue. I know a lot of you all have been emailing me, and I have tried to respond to all of them. I am quite busy, so the time with you all on Thursday is the time I'll be able to give you all. I do respond to my emails, but sometimes the emails too, when you write, I've had a few emails where it's not clear, so I will email you back and ask you for more information before I can give you advice. Unfortunately, I'm not available on the phone because of my many work and travel commitments at the moment. So please email me. Email me on stuff you want me to cover or look at for you before Thursday. And on Thursday, we're going to look at how you're going to get that business to work for you, to become a business if it's your choice to leave your full-time employment and become a full-time entrepreneur if you just want to continue. But I want you to be able to have a successful business. Not just tomorrow, not just today. So on Thursday, this is what we're going to do. So now I am going to open the floor. And sorry, this evening if I didn't seem as I think I'm battling and coming down with a cold or something. And thank you for this evening, but I want to again ask you guys to let's try and be supportive and respectful towards each other for questions. If you want to share private information, you can do so through a private message. So let's use this last 10, 15 minutes to just have a conversation about what is important, what you would like to ask of me today. Okay?
Thank you so much for such an informative session, and definitely looking forward for our next session on Thursday. There's just one question really and truly from Milanda. But before I dive into it, Roxanne, I saw your question in the chat. I know you're looking for some one-on-one time. It will depend on what country you're in. So if you could state which country you're in, I can provide the program coordinator number to you. Okay. So Milanda is asking, what advice would you give when it comes to wholesale requests? I'm new to the market with a unique product. I've been approached by some stores and villas for my products, but they're asking wholesale price with a wait period to pay me. One supermarket offered me $8 per product, yet my cheapest product is $12.
Okay, so that is a great question. Absolutely great. What was I going to say? So yes, that's a great question. And I get that often. So you have to try and balance whether this is going to be a good marketing strategy for you. Is name brand recognition important? And when you have been sufficiently recognized, can you pull it off the supermarket and sell it directly to the customer? Or is selling it at $8 going to cost you? I'm going to eat into your cost. Does it affect your profit that much? So you have a few things you have to look at. If you are selling it at 12 and they want to buy it at 8, is that $4 your profit and is it going into the cost? I would say if it's going into the cost, write back to them and say, listen, I definitely cannot sell it at that price, but I can sell it at that price. The thing about a supermarket and these places that a lot of people go there. So if you believe in your product and it's that good and you want visibility, I would say at no less than the cost, you can give yourself a period of time to sell it to them. And then when it becomes so popular that their customers are asking for it, then you can either pull it back and renegotiate the price. And maybe make your product visibility so good that your customers now can contact you directly. I don't know if that makes sense and if that's helpful, but that would be my advice. Because too often, I personally don't sell to supermarkets, and that's the reason. I'm a passion fruit producer. I'll give you an example. And one of the supermarkets wanted to buy my passion fruit at $1.50 a pound. And when I cost how much it cost me to produce the passion fruit from the farm to drop it off at the supermarket, it was costing me $3.50. And it really did not make sense for me to do that. So I decided not to sell. I started pulping and freezing. And I now am able to get, I think in some cases, almost $10 per pound of passion fruit. So it's up to you where your needs are, what you're willing to give, to sacrifice to be able to get where you want. And is it a product that you can constantly supply? So again, that's a conversation I can have with you at another time, but I hope that answers your question. Partly, some sort. Anybody else?
Thank you very much. The next question really is not a question, but more of a statement. Yolanda is mentioning in St. Lucia, they have a selfish mentality, which is really not a question. When it comes to sharing as a livestock farmer, there was not much information from other farmers. As I learned, I share on social media and with other farmers. The men in the industry on the island have repeatedly asked me to stop sharing information, and they refuse to share information with new farmers.
Sorry, who has asked her to stop sharing information?
The men farmers on the island of St. Lucia.
Okay, so you don't have to be like everybody else. You can be the change you want to see. If at the time of starting you believe that information sharing would have helped you, don't stop sharing information. Share it. You never know. Even if it's one person's lives it affects, that's good enough. Well, it would be good enough for me. So I would say don't stop sharing. because there might be one person that might need your help. You don't have to be like everybody else. So keep sharing. Find your ways of sharing the information, because I think that's how we learn. That's how we better. No one person can produce all the livestock for everybody. So if we did it together and we did it well, um, then I think everybody would benefit, the consumers and ourselves. Okay.
Thank you so much. I'm not seeing any hands or any questions in the chat box. So I'm going to assume there is not any more questions.
Nobody wants to talk to me tonight or ask questions? Anybody want to talk or ask a question? You have me now.
Yes. So Miss Eugene, I'm gonna unmute you. I think you were given permission earlier, so you can go ahead and
Yes.
ask a question.
Yes. Well, I don't even know the question. I think it's just so many things for me. And I think that's what my question is, because I'm new to all of this and I don't know what I could do in terms of a business. For now, I have random things. When I say random, because I'm really new to this, just starting on the land, learning about certain things and so on. I'm grateful for Helen's daughters. But then when I listen to these few sessions we've had, my goodness, I feel as if I was walking in a dark world without any knowledge for so many years. So right now I feel as if I need to go into a space and really try to figure out which way is up for me moving forward. I don't know what the idea of the product is. I don't know. I really don't know how to do this. So I don't know, some type of consultation or something may be beneficial for me. And then when I listen to, taking into consideration the VAT, the customs, the this, the that, then it helps. I realize the cost of the products can go up because of so many different things. And choosing or identifying a product that will work seems like a task for me. So, but I appreciate all of the insight. I appreciate what you have given, you shared with us. Debbie, I don't even know where to start, but thank you so much for all of it.
You're more than welcome. And you sound like you have the passion and the enthusiasm. So what I would say is to take some time. Not everything works. And you may find that what you want to sell or do, you have it, it's right there already. You just don't know that's what you want to do. So I believe there is an entrepreneurial line in every one of us. We just haven't found him or her yet. So take your time. You have my email address. You can reach out anytime and I will get back to you. Okay?
Yes, thank you.
Anybody else?
So far,
Anybody else?
so far there is no question in the Oh yes, Stephanie, I'm gonna give you permission to speak, and you could go ahead now.
Hi, good evening, everyone.
Hi.
Ms. Daniel, good presentation over the past weeks. It's been very informative. I started farming because my passion is farming. I love farming. I love playing in the soil. So my husband and I purchased a farm property. So it's a lot of space. It's just the two of us. We've been planting. When we started, we had one person assisting us, but it was not profitable to have him because my husband and I, we work full time and then we do part time on the farm. So in us doing the part time, we were able to achieve more than the gentleman. So we sent him away and we basically doing the work in between when we have time. So far, we've been able to save some money. I'm quite happy with the savings, but we don't pay ourselves. And listening to you, I understand that, you have to pay yourself, but I think we're at a point where we cannot pay ourselves right now. But what I'm happy about is that we able to like feed from what we plant on the farm. So it has cut our costs, our grocery bill. So I don't know if looking at it that way um, could be a way of paying ourselves, in that we use a lot of the things we planned for our consumption sometimes. And I also used to help my mom, like I would buy vegetables for her and stuff, but now I supply her with vegetables. I give her stuff. So it actually helps me to save as well in the cost of vegetables I would purchase for her and purchase for myself. And I'm thinking, if we have to keep it long, like for a long time, we have to go into it full time or get people. But here, I find people are not very honest when they do farm work. At least where we are, they probably would come, they would waste time because we're not there to see them, we're not there to supervise. So I don't know, like how to approach
We
it. I
get,
cannot
yeah,
leave my
yeah,
full-time job right now to do
job.
it full time.
So first
But
of all, congratulations on getting land. I think it's admirable. I think I'm getting goosebumps because farming is where a lot of us started, or our parents' farming money is what paid for schools for a lot of us. So fantastic on your accomplishment of buying and acquiring a farm. However, what I
Mhm.
must tell you is that you have to distinguish between whether the farm is a business or it's just an extension of your own personal way of creating food security for yourself and your family. You spoke about how you provide vegetables and fruit for yourself, for your parents. That's okay. You said you used to have a worker working for you, but you felt like you were able to accomplish more than that worker. So what I would have done if I was looking at this as a business is, even though I don't have that worker, I would still pay myself what I pay the worker, at least, if that
Okay,
makes sense.
okay,
I would still, so if you want to look at it as a business, I would still at least pay what I was paying the worker to myself. Okay, because like you said, the worker was not producing. In finding
hmm,
workers, what I must tell you all is that I have a farm too, and no matter what I try, I pay them really good. I tell you, really good. I feed them. They will come for a few, they will not come again. What I find is affecting a lot of farm workers or farm hands, particularly young men in St. Lucia, is the use of marijuana.
okay,
Most of those I end up getting, I think they smoke, not I think they have. And I'm only using that as my own experience. And it affects their mood. They will come and one day they're good, the next day they're not good. But what I have done
hmm,
to try and kill that is, when I look at it, I go on my farm sometimes, but after 10 o'clock, I cannot work. I'm being honest with you. I don't like farm work when there's hot sun. So what I do now, I try and give them an opportunity. And what I find I've been getting more out of them. You start earlier in the morning and you finish earlier, and you can maybe do a second shift in the afternoon, depending on how close the farm is to where they live. What you might
okay,
find is you might get more for 3 hours or 4 hours out of that person than asking them to stay for a whole day in the hot sun. Because inevitably you
hmm,
get tired, you get lethargic. It's hot. You understand? So
yeah,
see if you can come up with an arrangement where you can tell somebody, listen, I'm going to pay you to farm, but you're going to start at 6. You can finish by 10. This is how much I'm going to pay you. And this is the expectation for what I want to give you, if that makes sense. And you might find that the same amount of money, even if you
yeah,
paid them for 4 hours, you could still get more work than if you had let them stay
more
for
work.
8 hours.
Yeah,
So I
that's
think in
true.
a climate that is changing and the way things are going, we now have to adapt, because I know personally, I would not do farm work in hot sun for nobody for $60 a day. Absolutely. So the expectation on us as farm owners and as business owners is to ask people to do it. But
Yeah,
be realistic, if you understand what I'm saying. And that's where paying yourself comes into. If you are want to do this as a business, pay yourself. It doesn't matter if it's $30 you decide to take out to pay yourself. Put it aside. Okay?
okay,
Because
okay,
if you're not there in the business, and that is where businesses fall short. You want to have a business eventually where you sleep in at night and it's still making money for you. But if you don't pay yourself, how will you ever accomplish that? Do you not want to go on vacation, see something nice, go to a concert, and then you can still, but you can only do that on the mindset that, think about it that way. If you were to fall sick and you are not able to work, the farm would have to continue. You'd have to pay somebody. So
yes,
just always allocate some money to pay somebody. And then the other thing about it, you talk about, yeah, you utilizing the thing, but obviously you have a surplus you're able to give your mother. So what I would do
Mhm.
is to find, you said you have a full-time job. Find co-workers, colleagues, friends who are willing to buy your surplus. I think at the beginning I told you all I'm a fisher, I'm a registered fisher, I have a fishing boat. I used to go out to sea quite a lot before. And the way I started selling our fish was when we go out and fish, instead of selling to the Ashtares or the Weaverdares, we now have a network of people. When we go out, when we come back, we get 100 pounds of snapper, we message them, we clean it, we deliver it to them. So it's only my surplus of fish I started this business on. Does that make sense? And if your
Yeah, but
family, your friends, they value you, trust me, you call me and tell me you have some produce, I will buy it from you before I buy it from Marcy. Make sense, Stephanie?
yes, it does.
Okay, so
But
pay yourself, okay?
I don't know if are you hearing me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, the thing with coworkers, they're interested and they want to buy the stuff, but they want it on credit.
Well, don't work like that. And I don't know. I'm different. I always tell them, and when you give them for free, they take. But when you say you have it for sale, nobody's interested in buying.
You know what I
So,
tell them? If you all want it for free, come to the farm and get it. And nobody comes.
or come and help you. Yes, yes. Or come and help you. Yes.
I bring it to the workplace. They want it, they
Uh-huh.
will take it. They boast it's very nice, it's very they get good quality, quantity and everything,
Well,
but they
just
don't
don't
want
even
to
offer it
pay.
to them. Just don't even offer it to them. Get a network of different people that you can give it to. Figure out
Yeah,
another
there are some
establishment that might
people
be able to
that
buy.
will pay. Like some people not in my establishment. Like I sell some
Mm-hmm.
seasoning packages for $15. And every time I
Mm-hmm.
sell it to another person out of my department, she pays me like $20 for it. And I sell it to them $15. She give me 20 or 25. She say, no, that is too much.
Exactly.
That is, she appreciates it because she knows she's in business.
Ex-
But
So
some
you
of
remember
them,
we spoke earlier about a value?
all
It's not
right.
that I have money, but I know sometimes I don't have time to go and buy seasoning, blend it, put all the things you put it, you do a service, I pay you. So
Yep.
yeah, you need to move away from the people who are not supportive of you and go towards the people who are.
Okay. And about the
Yeah.
hours, I
Mhm.
sometimes we sleep at the farm and we get up at 5:30 and we're able to
Mhm.
achieve more than if we get there for 8 or
Yeah,
9.
yeah, yeah,
Yes.
for sure.
So
Yeah,
and
I know
then
I
we
cannot
can go
function
back
in
at
the heat.
4 and
Yeah, yeah.
it's more beneficial that way.
Yeah, definitely. But all the best with the farming, and hopefully you can share with us when you
I
have
hope
more
that
stuff
you
to
can
sell so
have
some
me
of
under
us can
your
buy.
wings to mentor me when you decide to
Send an
have
email. Send
two
an
people
email. I
to
keep in a
mentor.
list of everybody. So next year,
Thank,
maybe I'll
thank you.
randomly pick 2 people to mentor,
Okay.
or they can prepare a proposal and I'll see who I can help.
Yeah,
So
I'll try
those
to
who are
register
interested in
the
possibly
business
just send an email to me and
and do a
I'll keep you all
plan.
in touch.
Right.
And then
Okay.
come next week for the next session, okay?
Yes.
The last
Thank you.
session. All right, no problem. Joycelyn, I think your hand is up.
Yes, so
Mm,
to get me started, I have this gentleman who comes, a farmer, who came to help me
mm,
with the soil, everything, helping to manage trees that were out of control, other things. When you spoke earlier, you spoke about NIC and other things like that. But then you
mm.
have somebody who's sporadic, who comes off and on, more off than on. Would this be someone that I would need to look into NIC for?
I wouldn't, because I would consider that casual labor.
Casual
But
labor.
what you can do if you want to keep somebody, I use NIC as, and I say, listen, depending on your age, if you stay with me and I pay NIC with you, when you turn 65, you will get a pension. And you have
Okay.
to, and I explain to them that yes, they pay 5% of what I pay them, but they have to also remember I pay 5% extra too. Does
Okay.
that make sense?
For them.
So
Yes.
the way I explain it to encourage them is say, listen, you don't have a steady salary yet. If I can give you 3 days and you can commit to it, I'm willing to pay NIC for you. But in exchange for the NIC, this is what I expect of you. 3 days a week at certain times. And we have to be a bit more flexible too. And the way farming used to be 20 years ago is not the way it is now. So one of the things I wish people would consider is time, letting people start earlier and finishing earlier, if that makes sense. Providing your workers with water, for instance, a simple thing like that might make a difference. In doing that. But the NIC thing, I would say use it as a tool to show them that I mean, if when you reach 65, you can't work anymore, or you're sick and you're able to get a pension of at least $600 a month, that's better than nothing, right?
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. You're welcome. Shaquana, anything else, or we good? Where are we now?
Okay, so Miss Eugene have her hand up.
Mm.
So I don't want
Miss Eugene,
I-
she spoke already, I think. Eh?
okay, so I'm gonna do that. Okay, so there are just like two questions. Inez is stating that she sells flowers, she buy pots and soil. How do she basically pay herself while
She
selling those
sells
flowers?
flowers. So
Yes,
does she grow herself? Does she grow the flowers herself?
I will have to wait on that
Okay,
response.
so Inez, I'm just going through a few scenarios with you. You sell flowers, you buy the pots, the soil, you plug the thing. So technically, if you bought all these things, the flowers, if you buy in it, for instance, you buy the soil, you bought that, and the cost of that is $20. And then you sell the pots for $30. That's $10 on each pot. So if you sold back 50, if you sold 5 pots for the day and you were able to make $50, then I'm not saying you can pay yourself all of it, but you should pay yourself some of it and maybe reinvest the difference to be able to buy the pots, the flowers, until the amount you sell is more, and you can make a bigger profit to pay yourself more. But the idea of paying yourself is not paying yourself like if you're making $10, you can pay yourself 100. The idea of paying yourself is whatever profits you have, put some aside as payment for what you do. But then again, I understand that different businesses have different outcomes. Some people are okay starting a business and making $50 in one day. Some people aspire to make hundreds of dollars in one day. So it depends on where you are and what. Remember, we spoke earlier about your business and setting your goals. What is it you want as a short term for your business and a long term? How much money do you expect to make that it can fend for you? So if you have a full-time job and then you have a business, um, is it just for a side income of a little extra? Is there any expectations for you to do much and for it to become a growing business? So what I want to say is that you need to decide how much you can pay yourself. And if you cannot pay yourself, are you just doing it for fun? And that's your choice. If that's what you want to do, then that's fine as well. Okay? I hope that answers your question. So it's 8:09 now. I just want to say thank you to everybody. I really appreciate your participation this evening. I hope you all come next week ready for discussion and not as quiet as tonight. I know it's a lot of information to process. I hope some of it is helpful. I hope some of you will reach out to me, even if it's one person. Um, I hope you're not just attending this thing just to make up the numbers so you can graduate, but rather that you can benefit something and go back and take it into. I genuinely do this because I want to help and I want to be able to see what my experience can bring to the table to assist you in your business. So thank you again, everybody. Thank you, Shaquana, for moderating this evening. Again, I have a long resource of information to send to you. I think it'll come out to you tomorrow or Thursday morning. And I look forward to our last session on Thursday. So thank you again, everybody, and have a good night.
Thank you. And thank you, Miss Daniel, for this wonderful session. I'm looking forward to our next one on Thursday. Good night, everyone.